Well, hello to my Sunday school friends. It is good to see you. Last time, we talked about Elijah, and we talked about Ahab, and we talked about Ahab's son Ahaziah, and we remembered that God punished Ahab's family for all the wrong that he'd done and punished Ahaziah for the wrong that he did. But, we've been telling a lot of stories about Elijah, and Elijah's been getting older and older and older. And you know what happens? Sometime each of us has to go home to be with God. Sometime each one of us dies. So Elijah was getting old. And remember, he had a helper, Elisha, that he'd been teaching and training to take over for him. And one day, Elijah said to Elisha, "Stay here. I'm going to go. The Lord is going to take me today. You should stay here." And Elisha said, "Absolutely not. I am coming with you." So they left Gilgal where they were, and they went down to Bethel. And when they got to Bethel, there were some prophets of God there who came out and said to Elisha, you know that today is the day that God's going to take your master from you." And Elisha said, "I know. Be quiet." And Elijah said to Elisha, "You should stay here at Bethel. I'm going to go down to Jericho." And Elisha said, "I am not leaving you. I am going to stay with you. I am going with you to Jericho." So they went from Bethel down to Jericho. And when they got to Jericho, there were some other prophets of God there at Jericho. And they came out and they said to Elisha, "Today's the day, right? God's going to take your master today." And Elisha said, "I know. Be quiet." So Elijah said to Elisha, "You should stay here in Jericho." And Elisha said, "I am not going to leave you. I'm going to stay with you." So they went down together to the Jordan River. And when they got there, Elijah took off his mantle, his cloak, his robe, and he rolled it up and he smacked the water with it, and the waters of the Jordan River parted. And Elisha and Elijah passed through the Jordan River on dry land. And when they got to the other side, Elijah said, what is it that I can give you? What do you need from me? And Elisha said, "I would like a double share of the spirit that God put on you." And Elijah said, that's really a hard thing. It's not mine to give. That's God's to give. But I'll tell you what. If you see me being taken from you, then you'll know that God will give you what you've asked. But if you don't see me, then you'll know that God has not given you that. How's that? And Elisha thought that was very, very fair. And while they were still talking, a flaming chariot, a chariot is sort of a wagon that's pulled behind horses. A flaming chariot and flaming horses came down from heaven, and they scooped up Elijah. And they took him up into the air, and Elisha saw him going, and Elisha cried, "My father, my father, my father," until Elijah disappeared from sight. And Elisha looked around and he saw Elijah's mantle, and he picked it up and he walked back toward the Jordan River, and he hit the waters of the Jordan River with Elijah's mantle, and the waters parted from him. And he knew that he had Elijah's spirit on him. And the prophets of Jericho were standing on the other side, and they could see, and they knew that Elijah's spirit was on Elisha. And they came to him, and they bowed down to him, and they said, "Let us go. There's 50 of us. Let us go and find your master's body. Maybe God has thrown it down someplace." And Elisha said, No, that's just not what happened. He got taken up to heaven with fiery horses and a fiery chariot. God didn't throw his body down. But these 50 young men said, we'll go look. And finally, it was just embarrassing because they wouldn't be quiet. So Elisha said, "Fine." And they went and they searched for 3 days before they all came back, and they said, "We couldn't find him. I guess you were right." And Elijah said, "Next time, listen to me," right? Now, while he was there, the people pointed out to him that the spring that the city used, the water was bad, and people were getting sick from it. And so Elisha said, "Bring me a bowl that's full of salt." And they did that, and he prayed, and he threw the salt into the spring, and God healed the spring of water so that it became healthy and wholesome, and nobody got sick and nobody died from drinking that water. So it's become clear now to all the people of Israel that there's a new prophet. It's Elisha, that God's working through him like God worked through Elijah. And you and I, we're just going to wait and watch and hope that the people and the leaders of Israel and Judah listen, because God is at work trying to get them ready, trying to get the world ready to send Jesus. So that's where we'll end this time. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday, and I look forward to seeing you soon. It's always fun to hear from you. I love when you send me pictures or send me questions. You do that anytime you want. Let's talk soon. Bye.